Listen, the story of Islam in the modern world is not just being written. It is being edited, distorted, and sometimes erased entirely by those who control the global media. This is not an accident. It is a systematic marginalization, a quiet but devastating erasure that shapes how billions of people perceive an entire faith. When Muslims are either absent from the stories that define our era or reduced to crude caricatures, something profound is lost. Not just for Muslims, but for humanity itself. The Quran speaks of truth as a light, but what happens when that light is smothered beneath layers of misinformation, selective reporting, and outright fabrication? The answer is clear. Darkness spreads, and in that darkness, fear grows. The problem is not merely that Muslims are underrepresented, though that is undeniable. Research from media studies and psychology confirms that less than 2% of global news coverage features Muslim voices in a non-conflict context. But the deeper crisis is misrepresentation. When Muslims do appear, they are framed as threats, extremists, or backward figures in need of saving. The psychological impact of this is staggering. Cognitive scientists call it availability heuristic, the human tendency to judge reality based on the most readily available examples. If the only Muslims people see are terrorists on the news, or oppressed women in documentaries, then that becomes, in their minds, what Islam is. The Quran condemns bearing false witness, yet entire media empires have built their profits on doing exactly that to an entire faith. Listen, the consequences are not abstract. They shape laws, fuel wars, and fracture societies. Studies in political psychology show that media demonization directly correlates with public support for military interventions in Muslim-majority nations. It influences visa policies, employment discrimination, and even street-level violence. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned against spreading rumors, yet today, rumors are industrialized. A single headline can ignite global outrage, while 1,000 acts of Muslim charity go unnoticed. The Quran commands believers to stand firmly for justice, even if it is against themselves. But how can justice prevail when the scales are rigged by narrative control? The damage is not only external. The internal toll on Muslim minds is just as severe. Social psychologists identify stereotype threat, the crushing weight of knowing the world expects you to fail, to be violent, to be a problem. When young Muslims grow up seeing their faith mocked or feared in movies, news, and political rhetoric, it creates a crisis of identity. The Quran reassures believers that they are the best nation brought forth for humanity, yet media tells them they are the worst. This cognitive dissonance is not harmless. It leads to self-censorship, cultural shame, and in extreme cases, radicalization. Oppression breeds desperation, and desperation is fertile ground for those who would twist faith into something it was never meant to be. Listen, the solution is not pleading for better representation. It is seizing it. The early Muslims did not wait for permission to speak. They transformed the world through the power of their message. Today, the battlefield is not swords, but screens, not deserts, but algorithms. The Quran says, "Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction." This is not passive advice. It is a command to master the art of persuasion in an age where perception is power. Muslim journalists must infiltrate newsrooms. Muslim filmmakers must reclaim storytelling. Muslim scholars must engage in public discourse with unshakable clarity. The Prophet, peace be upon him, used every available means, poetry, diplomacy, even letters to kings, to convey truth. The tools have changed, but the mission has not. This is not about winning a popularity contest. It is about survival in an era where wars are fought with cameras as much as bullets. The Quran warns that some people use their wealth and influence to turn others away from the path of Allah. Today, that path is being obscured by a storm of distorted narratives. But storms do not last forever. Truth, when it is spoken relentlessly, has a way of breaking through. The question is not whether the world will listen, but whether Muslims will speak.